This episode is brought to you by Buy My Stuff on eBay. Yes, you too can buy my stuff from eBay. Simply search for the seller, Tin Dog Podcast, and you can own some rare and collectible items. From the same people who brought you Buy My Books on Amazon. Check the show notes for a direct link.
Scanning for audio.
Morning, and welcome to another Tin Dog Podcast. Yes, I'll be talking about TV Doctor Who, Ncuti Gatwa, Season 2, Episode 2, Lux, of Disney Who. You can tell it's Disney Who. There's just a lot of money on that screen. You know what? It looked good. It did look good. There were bits that were just impossible, or if they'd been done in the classic season, would have looked awful. But it looked damn fine. But I'm going to be in the minority here. It's just not for me still. It's still just not for me. Belinda's development, such as it is there. There's a bit at the beginning where they just flash back and seem to just lay all of the plot from... it's like one of those old episodes where you'd have the reprise from the previous episode and it would just go straight into it. And you know what? I should be fine with that. I really should. So yeah, it does look good. Here's the thing. Me, like every other bloody podcast on the planet, will be fixating on one moment, one tiny bit of the entire narrative. So should we get that out of the way now? And then we can come back to the actual review. Makes sense? Because, let's face it, everybody else will be like, hey, Mr. Bendy Arms is fine, ring-a-ding. But none of us are fixating on this. Here's the thing. Here's something I've not heard anybody else say. Okay. So, when Mr. Ring-a-Ding tries to trap the Doctor and Belinda into thinking that they've escaped from the cinematic world and are back in the theatre, he uses things from that time. He uses the NYPD policeman. He uses dramatic narrative that's available on the films that Mr. Lux has already seen. Yeah? However, the next scenes, the bit where the Doctor climbs out of the TV, the stuff that everyone's ignoring is that it's not period specific. Okay? Bear with me. And it's a lot more narrative based, and it gives the Doctor a breather, chance for a cup of tea and a sit down. Okay? I think that this scene is actually the work of Mrs. Flood, and we'll come back to it. She's actually giving them a helping hand in the story. She's giving them something to latch onto, something to give them a moment of breather, something to let the Doctor sort his mind out, something to then help the narrative along, because I think she is the god of stories. I did think I had my colours nailed to the mast much earlier on, saying that she was what used to be known as the White Guardian, or the Guardian of Order. And perhaps that's what she is, and she's trying to create the narrative in order to let him escape and move on. So that's why there's bits used from a time that Mr. Bendy Arms, can you see where I'm going with this? He doesn't have access to this knowledge. He doesn't have access to the future because he is firmly fixed in this period of history, because he's just come into being. Okay, so the light hits the back of the spoon. that was where you kind of lost me, because the light travelled in a straight line from the spoon and wasn't dissipated. It didn't bounce in all of the directions that a curved surface would provide. If the spoon was the other way up, it would have perhaps focused the energy, but it actually had the back of the spoon, which would make it disperse. That annoyed me. And you know what? Spoon usage shouldn't annoy me. So let's continue going on about this thing, about the Doctor Who fans who are in this, because let's face it, you expect it from me. You expect it from every other podcaster, because we're all not seeing ourselves seen on TV. But are we? Is Russell seeing the Doctor Who fan that he thinks exists out there? Here's the thing. Russell believes, and he has said so in many interviews, that Doctor Who is still a family show, that we should all be sitting around, and that indeed we, the old fans, should just move on and get out of the way and make space for the new fans. But why show us a version of the old style fans? Oh, here's another thing. You get 3 Doctor Who fans in a room, you're going to get 3 separate opinions. That's how you know they're fiction. You ask 3 Doctor Who fans what their favourite episode is. Yes, quite a few of them will say Blink. A lot of them will say Peter Capaldi wandering around a castle by himself. But how many of us would say Time Lash? Or would say, oh, the one with... Because, let's face it, the Doctor doesn't know the episodes are called that. He doesn't know what his life is called. I mean, imagine that. Someone meets you and tells you you're fictional. You go, hey, which bit did you enjoy? And they'd go, oh, I enjoyed the episode where you go to work and spend 6 hours in front of a computer. Is how you'd see it from the inside. You wouldn't think of, hey, there's some angels. We'd call it Blink. It's annoying. But if Russell sees this show as a family show, why in that moment wasn't it a family watching Doctor Who? You could have the same reactions, the same storylines. The kid could have figured it out and said he can't say because of spoilers. The kid watching things, the girl, the boy, whoever it was, whoever it is watching as a family, you could have had someone in the other room saying, oh, I don't like the show anymore, or all of that. It was potential for milking, as opposed to just 3 characters who have no second names appearing. But is that for time? Is that for space? Is that just not quite next level enough? But then... And also the logo of the TV show being the logo that we're familiar with. I don't know if that leans more credence to my Mrs. Flood theory. Of course, we've got the whole flood river thing going on as well. Water, pond. It's just too damn obvious. So, we've got that. We've dealt with it. We can move on. Contemporary fiction is a bit weird, so that only just leads credence to my other theory no one else seems to be jumping on with. Oh, here's another thing that has occurred, and I can't let go of it. Last Christmas, not the Doctor Who story, but last Christmas, the Doctor was marooned on Earth and lived an entire year on Earth until next Christmas, when he leaps back. Yeah? Which means he's already lived through May the 25th. He's already done it. He's already been there on Earth to possibly try and save the day, but something's happened to Earth to destroy it. He just hasn't noticed yet. Which means that it's not a fixed point in time, which means it's flexible, but that's not important. What is important is that he's already been there. So there could legitimately be 2 Doctors in that 25th special, both played by Ncuti. Okay, so the actual thing. Yes, it looked great. Yes, some of the accents were a bit, well, gee, mister. Gee, sir. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. I know you're supposed to hire Brits, but this is being shown on Disney across the world to everyone. Calm down. So, as always, my family sent me a WhatsApp of their thoughts. Would you like to hear them? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure that is where we were at. So I shall scroll through my phone and I shall find them. There we go, and here we are. Okay, remember, these were sent to me randomly, so we'll have to come back to it. It ain't the time for inspiration quotes. Fair enough. Oh, did you notice how he said that 60% water now instead of 70% water, which was an earlier line? It did feel weird. And I did like the Rock Hudson thing. I know the Rock Hudson film doesn't actually exist, but they needed to get Harbinger in there. Oh, right, okay. Harbinger. Harbinger is the person who turns up before the main villain, yeah? If it's the musical person, there was a Harbinger on the piano and that brought them forward. Lux is the Harbinger, is not the God of Light. The God of Light would be a separate thing. This is the Silver Surfer to Galactus, yeah? But then all of a sudden he's the God of Light and then expands and then just vanishes at the end, and it's just hollow and empty. It looks great, but it's just hollow. He doesn't want the sun and then he wants the sun. Okay, so this ain't the time for inspirational quotes. How does he know? Don't know what that means. He ain't persuasive. Why can't they go back in time to the 23rd of May? Well, we'll leave it there. And then she's got, that's not how it works. And I feel nothing. And you know what? I'm just thinking, yeah, we're just not connecting with any of the characters. Get off my tea, please stop. This ain't CBeebies. Oh my God, they're not even pulling down the screen in time with each other. Can they just chill out? What's happening? I'm confused. It ain't that deep. The music needs to chill out. Oh, right. Now, the 3 Doctor Who fans, wouldn't it have been brilliant if one of them had just turned and went, can we just have less music, less volume now? Because R.I.P. Doctor Who. Yeah, we know that that's being used out there. Stop saying babes. Yeah, the Doctor saying babes is really, really getting on everyone's nerves. And it's not a sacrifice moment. He controls light, not reality. I feel nothing again. I don't trust him. Yeah, we don't trust the Doctor. That's fine. You're really not kind of supposed to. The same plot as the Epic Monsters ride, where people just turn up. Yeah, okay. Ouch to the films. Bro, use your inside voice. Flammable does not mean explosive. He isn't a god. Why didn't it work before? That's not how it works. Again, themes. So, it ain't that deep. And she's written the word Sheila Burling, which, you know, let's face it, it's GCSE, yeah, you should know that. Old lady. And here we are. Gay was better in Loki. There you go. So, they are the random notes from my family. Make even less sense usually, but that's been the point. They just seemed lost. They were kind of, yeah, we know what's going on, we just don't care. And they are the not we. I am an animator, or was an animator, and feel, why would a flat image represent themselves as having 2D thinking? Just because cartoons are old, it doesn't make them less good. I submit Ulysses 31 to my humble friends to review, or even real Ghostbusters. Those cartoons make sense. Yes, the 1970s Star Trek had the same sort of look, but that's beside the point. That's not important. Did I like it? Not really. Does everyone else seem to like it? Absolutely. Is this show for me? Nah. Right. I've spoken far too long about this. And yes, as predicted, I spoke more about the 3 Doctor Who fans than I should have, because the rest of the episode was perfectly fine. Oh, here's a thing. I'm going to put this idea in your head and you'll run with it. Imagine this story, almost exactly the same, but sapphire and steel. And you know what? It works. You wouldn't mind it. It's fine. And I don't know why that's true. But if this was sapphire and steel, you'd be going, yay, that works. That's just good. I'll leave that with you. Oh, how did the people survive escaping the films? They were trapped on celluloid and then they just left. They just escaped and walked out, and everybody lives, apparently. Ish. Apart from the exploding camera, projectionist. I would, of course, at this point tell about the story that I went missing when I was a child and I had no idea where I was when we'd got to the cinema, and it's because this projectionist was showing me how the projectors worked. And that was just brilliant. That's not important. What is important is that I now upload this and share it with you, my beloved and probably attractive listeners. Until next time, be seeing you. That was the Tin Dog Podcast. All topics discussed are the intellectual property of the copyright owners. No infringement is intended. Why not follow the show on Blue Sky at tindogpodcast.bsky.social. If you've enjoyed this podcast on YouTube, please click like and subscribe. To contact the show, email tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.